Welcome into the early line. We are live right here on a Wednesday. I'm Kevin Walsh, joined by Donnie Rightside. A jam-packed 2 hours coming up for you here. DRS, how you feeling?
Feeling good. Major League Baseball, interesting last night to say the least here, but also we are midweek. It is our job to bring that energy from 7 to 9 a.m. East Coast time to you, the viewers and listeners. And I'm ready to go, K-Dub. I am.
Yeah, we're ready to get the job done here. Look, we had a Cy Young battle. Dylan Cease versus Justin Verlander. The top two choices on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the American League Cy Young Award, and the result was quite interesting. A Chicago White Sox win 4-3. Dylan Cease, though, only went 5 innings. Verlander was able to go 7. They both allowed 3 earned runs. The end result, movement in the favor of Justin Verlander, sat now at minus 190. Dylan Cease back to plus 260.
So basically, this was a referendum game. Dylan Cease had to throw a shutout and or a no-hitter to get some movement in his direction. Because if you would have told me before the game, forget about the innings. One pitcher gave up 3 runs. The other pitcher gave up 3 runs. The White Sox won. Ooh, Cease must be in it now. He might have crept a little bit closer to Verlander. That's not the case here. Looks like it's Verlander's to lose at this point.
It looked like Cease needed to outperform Verlander to really make this a race. The odds were moving in the middle of that game as well. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the New York Mets getting left on 0 by the Atlanta Braves. They've been 2 games so far in this series, and the overall score tallies up to 18-1 Atlanta. This division, if you look right now, is just a 3.5 game lead for the New York Mets. Maybe not over so fast.
Yeah, maybe not. We thought it was going to be over a month ago when the Braves were going to pass the Mets, but that didn't happen. And then you saw the Mets extend a lead. So here come the Braves. And I said yesterday, run line was a decent option here for the Atlanta Braves. I just didn't think the matchups worked well for them with Taijuan Walker, and it didn't. 5-0 win here. Braves looking for a sweep of the Mets. Woo!
Mets still minus 550 to win this division. So in that respect, a mountain for the Atlanta Braves to climb. But again, this is a team right now still in the thick of it and building up another lengthy win streak. I believe now up to 8 wins in a row. The Milwaukee Brewers yesterday booked as a favorite against the Los Angeles Dodgers. This game went to extras. And in the 11th, the Milwaukee Brewers got the job done 5-4. Usually, you would say upsetting the Dodgers, but no, holding on as favorites in the baseball game.
Yeah, I thought it was the right play. I thought the Brewers should have been favored in that game as a slight favorite, and they were. And boy, they needed everything, including getting the extra innings to do that. I did take a team total on the Brewers, sitting high and mighty, K-Dub, after the top of the first inning, a 2-0 lead. Hey, only need 2 more runs the rest of the way. Who would have thought I would have needed extra innings to take it down? But a win is a win, and I did think the Brewers would win yesterday. That's a good win for them.
Certainly something also that jumped off the page, even though in a loss, was a Joey Gallo home run in this game. He's now had 3 homers for the Los Angeles Dodgers. One did come off of a position player, but nevertheless, Gallo, in an early, smaller sample size, batting .261 with 3 homers as an L.A. Dodger. Bright lights of New York too much, but apparently the dim lights of Hollywood not impacting Joey Gallo. Nevertheless, the Dodgers might have had themselves a valuable 8-hitter because, again, this is how stacked this lineup can be. In NFL news, a big-time piece of information revolving their quarterback battle with the Seattle Seahawks. The radio audience is here on a Wednesday morning. Kevin Walsh and Donnie Rightside on Sirius XM Channel 159. It's the early line. How about Drew Lock? Set to be the starter. The report came out that he would begin the first or the second preseason game. Didn't officially win the job, but looked like it might be trending in that direction. COVID positive, will now be missing his chance to start this Thursday against the Bears.
Yeah, that's not good for Drew Lock here because that's going to have an impact. If you're looking at a 50-50 competition to lose your snaps this week where Geno Smith is going to now take the majority of them, that's a shame. And to do it by missing COVID. It wasn't after you twisted your ankle, you have a shoulder injury. He's going to sit those 5 games out, and that might have an impact whether or not he can start week 1 for the Seattle Seahawks.
In other quarterback news and talking about starting week 1, Zach Wilson could play week 1. Unlikely, sure, but it does appear that out of the weeds now for Zach Wilson, the Jets quarterback here, that he is not going to be dealing with anything season-ending. Huge sigh of relief for them.
It is a huge sigh of relief. But what do we expect, Kevin? He's going to go under the knife. We'll know once the surgery is done. Press conference called. How did that surgery go? Best one I ever did in my life, man. He might be back next week at this time. Have we ever seen a surgery where the doctor came and go, hey, scoped it, man. This guy's out for his career at this point. It's always great news after surgery. How about that? Amazing.
Listen, Jets fans, though, were waiting for that great news, and they did get it.
Yeah,
in running back news, how about Washington Commanders back Antonio Gibson losing his spot, running with the third team, a nightmarish training camp, Donnie? Seems like it's only getting worse.
I mean, dude is getting special team snaps right now. You know what that means. And don't give me Ron Rivera going in front of the press going, hey, we do that with everybody. No, you don't do it with everybody, including your starting running back. Things are amiss down in Washington, and this is a young, talented running back now on gunner duty? Come on now.
Yeah, pretty surprising there, but could open up some value with some rookies. We'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about the latest around Donovan Mitchell and the New York Knicks. We're hearing that the Jazz and the Knicks have re-engaged in trade discussions around the Jazz superstar. Could a deal be done before the season? We break it all down for you. It's the early line on Sports Grid.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
They play less games.
The early line.
Take a look at the top 4 seeds here in the Big Ten. They're going to play less.
Aaron Rodgers and
the morning
Russell
after.
Wilson. We saw movement in the marketplace like Orlando
Fantasy
Magic.
sports
the
today.
Cleveland Cavaliers are a little thin as well.
Newswire.
Minus 160 favorite on the money line today for Arizona.
Pharrell coast to
PPG,
coast.
that's where they win cups. They win Stanley Cups over there. Give me the
Game
Penguins.
time
Kind of
decisions.
bizarre when you consider everybody is out for the Warriors.
In-game live
I
all
like
access.
I like Vandy against Bama. I think Vandy can win the game, take it 4.5.
In-game live. Prime time.
The PGA Championship.
In-game live. Overtime.
All done before the final bet.
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid. The early line.
Fernando Tatis Jr. gets the 80-game suspension. He'll miss the remainder of this season, the playoffs this year, if the Padres do make it in, and the start of next year. But my favorite part about these stories always is the cover-up. We love when athletes come out and say, my bad, I made a mistake. I'll learn from it and move on. Don't use the old ringworm haircut. Stop the madness here. Enough with that.
Only on Sports Grid. Pharrell coast to
To
coast.
PEDs intentionally, and people are still going to watch baseball the rest of the year and in the playoffs and the World Series. And then next year when everyone's kissing his ass, all of us won't kiss his ass because we know he's a user. The guy took PEDs. That's how he got all of his big fancy numbers, and that's how he got that big, fat, guaranteed 14-year, $340 million.
The Sports Grid Network.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow into the $1.3 trillion business of sports with your daily numbers game. Serena Williams, a neighbor, Palm Beach County resident, but more important, 23 Grand Slams. She's 40, but she has transcended the sport. Much the same as Tiger Woods did in golf, but maybe differently. Her next step is in fashion and business. Tiger in golf, but who knows? I mean, they're way above the fray like a Michael Jordan. Bottom line is she has done the ability to do anything she wants to do, and stepping away after the U.S. Open, not going to be easy. Her first round match on the first Monday night of the tournament, I'll be there. That will be a tremendous ticket. As well, if she gets to the quarters and her sister plays well, they may play in the quarters. What a match. But let's not focus on one match. Let's focus on the business of tennis and how Serena and Venus certainly transcended.
Major League Baseball starts it off for us here on this Wednesday morning. Dylan Cease versus Justin Verlander. As I told you yesterday, this was going to impact the odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook. The odds in the futures market, yes, money matters, but in a game of this nature, everything was going to matter. At the end of the second inning, Justin Verlander had allowed a run. It was a 1-0 lead for the Chicago White Sox, and we had plus 110 on both sides here for the AL Cy Young. That is how much this was moving. Like, you typically would imagine, they're probably going to lock this thing up in the middle of the game. No, they like to keep this thing going and provide any and all opportunity. When it's all said and done, it was the White Sox that crossed the finish line, which does have other implications we can get to, but this finished up with Dylan Cease going 5 innings, allowing 3 runs, only striking out 4, with Justin Verlander going 7 innings, giving up 3 runs, and also only striking out 4. The difference here is 2 innings of work for Justin Verlander. But since he had the lead coming in, he was able to strengthen that lead. Now sat at minus 190, Dylan Cease checks in at plus 260. I know it might seem surprising, but the odds have told us, Donnie, that this game made a difference here in this race.
It is interesting that it had made that big of a difference also, because I understand if you're just looking at the game itself, because I tried to explain it yesterday. It's not Verlander pitching against Cease and which one of these guys is going to get a base hit off of each other. They're 2 completely different lineups that they face. But on its set, if you just look at the game itself, one guy went 7 innings, gave up 3 earned. One went 5 and gave up 3 earned. You should immediately give the boost to Verlander. And it actually did happen there at the FanDuel Sportsbook, which I'm actually appreciative of, because it wouldn't have been right for Dylan Cease to go 2 less innings, give up the same amount of runs, but him get the bonus because his team won. We've been led to believe, at least over the past decade now, pitching, wins and losses doesn't matter. It's how you're doing in game. And if you're looking at the season itself, just old school ERA, you have a guy south of 2 and you have a guy just over 2, which is Dylan Cease. So I didn't agree with the moving that much because the White Sox did win, but I'm trying to look forward here. We know the Houston Astros, Kevin, are going to end up winning their division. But you know what's interesting now? Seeing that White Sox, where I'm still under the belief that they're not going to get it together. They're only 1 game out of the AL Central at this point. And you hear me use that term, Kevin, extra credit so many times. What happens if Cease continues to be a horse down the stretch and they end up winning that division? Could that help out Dylan Cease here at this point?
Well, the White Sox movement to me is the secondary story, at least on this morning. But they, just like the Twins, are 1 game back of the Guardians, but they are now the favorite in this division. Slight. Plus 150 on the White Sox. Plus 160 on the Guardians. Twins at plus 240. Been a tight race all year long. Looks like that will continue. Could Dylan Cease, though, being the ace of a division winner, help? Yes, but in that, they're going to need Dylan Cease to be an ace in order to cross the finish line. More so than them saying, Cease was the best pitcher on the White Sox. He should get the nod. When Justin Verlander is going to end up the best pitcher on the very likely number 1 seed in the American League. So that's not where I think it's going to make the difference. This was the worst start that Dylan Cease had put forward since May. That is one of those things where, again, just the circumstances clearly were going to shake things up here. All in all, Verlander has the edge. If anybody is going to go narrative/story, his comeback from injury probably makes the difference as well. And statistically, though, with a better ERA, Verlander is rightfully your favorite. That is where we sit right now. But to your point on the Chicago White Sox, we can do this every single day if we really want to. Hey, Donnie, what do you like in the AL Central? The odds were on the move. Hey, Donnie, Central shook up again. What do you think about this? It has been going on the entire season. The question that I stick with beyond who do you think is exactly going to be able to bring this thing home is, of these 3 teams, forget to win the AL Central. Are you interested in any of them to actually win the American League? Do any of them have the juice to make a legitimate postseason run?
The only one that has the juice, if everything falls in line, is the Chicago White Sox. We thought they had the juice in early April as being the most talented team by far in this division. We would have thought, what? The Minnesota Twins maybe give up a fight and then probably sell off at the deadline, which didn't happen here. But the reason we started talking about these standings is because the White Sox have never turned it on. 2.5 games, 3.5 games, 4.5 games, 2.5 games, 3.5 games. It's been that way all throughout the summer. But now you see the White Sox in striking distance. This could have been one of those series, Kevin, where you go up against the Houston Astros and you get wiped out and you find yourself 4.5 games back. We all laugh and say the Chicago White Sox never got it together. But if you check the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, you know the favorite is, the betting favorite to win that division? How about this? The Chicago White Sox at a plus 150 price over the Guardians at plus 160 and the Minnesota Twins at a plus 240, because that belief is the most talented team still in this division is the White Sox, and we're just waiting. Now, nobody can pull ahead far enough 5, 6, and 7 games ahead of the White Sox to truly bury them. But are we believing now? Is this one of those where, oh, look at this, the betting markets have now shifted, we should trust the White Sox? I'm not quite there yet, but your question is valid. If you do get to the playoffs, because somebody has to out of this division, it's the White Sox, for me, have the best chance to do damage if they're healthy and playing well.
The movement on the White Sox is, in some respect, they do have the easiest strength of schedule remaining. But something that would have made their strength of schedule a little bit harder this series against the Astros to grab 2 games already there certainly, I think, helps. But in terms of a long-term outlook there, I think we often look a little too quickly past the Guardians, who have been solid now, and offer up a Shane Bieber, McKenzie, Plesac, 1, 2, 3 that you'll take your chances on. Or again, a Minnesota Twins whose offense has been very, very good all year long. When you look at the most runs scored in the American League, the Minnesota Twins have been near the top of that leaderboard. A little bit of a slump, which has created this new race here with the Guardians and, of course, the Chicago White Sox. But that is an offense with Arez, Correa, and Buxton, a 1, 2, 3 at the top. That is going to be a tough out for any of those teams that they can see. It's tough, though, to get involved, though they are enticing prices with so much uncertainty of who actually is going to be in the playoffs. And that is why I still think you have this huge gap between the Astros, the Yankees, and everybody else on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Another Major League Baseball headline that we wanted to bring up here involved the Philadelphia Phillies. I understand that the Phils right now are not in this NL East race in the way we feel like the Mets and the Braves are, but the Phils are right there when we talk about the NL wild card. Their offense, 11 runs against the Reds, handling their business. I've asked this to you before, but I think the question remains relevant. Are we not talking enough about the Philadelphia Phillies in terms of a long-term postseason outlook?
And maybe so at this point, because this is relatively new to us here in Philadelphia who are fans of the Phillies that haven't watched postseason baseball for over a decade. And I'll say this each and every day. It's refreshing to see the Philadelphia Phillies, Kevin, just beat the teams they are supposed to beat. You come off a Mets series. You face Scherzer and DeGrom. You don't win that series. The Phillies of the past would have rolled into Cincinnati and lost this series. They played well yesterday, and they played well the day before, including a little bit of adversity, getting down in a baseball game, but still scoring 11 runs. When Kyle Schwarber is out, when Bryce Harper is still out, you need other guys to step up, and that's Rhys Hoskins with 5 RBI yesterday, including 2 home runs. They roll the Reds. This is what you're supposed to do. And Kevin, you talked about this yesterday. Look at who started for the Philadelphia Phillies. Kyle Gibson, the best pitcher? No. 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 11 Ks. You know why that's important? It wasn't a double-A call-up who's not one of your prospects that you needed just to give you 3 innings, regardless if he gave up 0 runs or 13 runs over those 3 innings. Beat the teams you're supposed to. You'll wind up in the playoffs. The Phillies are doing that.
The Phils have the 4th best record. Well, I know not by a massive margin, but still in the entire National League. Bryce Harper on the way back, staff a little more solidified, Schwarber's been in and out. If Castellanos can start to find some of that old form, this is a dangerous, dangerous baseball team at 13-1 to win the National League. We'll be right back after this break. If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio. Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Maurice Allen, 2015-2016 European Long Drive Tour Champion, 2017 World Number 1. Me personally, I keep my game face on me all the time. Especially coming out of the bunker, leaving the range, or even leaving the course. What's your story?
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The reality is that what I'm hearing is Flacco's going to play that game against the Ravens in week 1. And I'm just going to put, salt on this. Flacco's better than Zach Wilson anyway. I mean, he's better flat out anyway. All things being equal, he's head and shoulders better than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson sucks. And until
The Sports Grid Network. The morning after.
Well, the Niners have a better overall year than those two other teams, being the Jags and the Jets.
You know, what's funny is I think you'd get a lot of people, though you make a good point about where the number would sit. I think you'd get a lot of people to bet the Niners. I'm high on the Niners. I still would take the combination. I'm low on the Jets. I know I'm probably walking into a real bad trap here, and I'm going to live with it. I am very optimistic about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Can Cease become the favorite in this market by the result of this baseball game?
I don't think so, because we have to remind ourselves, this isn't, Dylan Cease pitching to Justin Verlander, and that's the head-to-head matchup, and who wins it gets the title belts, right? I mean, that's not the way it works here. You actually are taking a look at this game saying, how is Verlander going to do up against that Chicago White Sox lineup? How is Cease going to do against that Astros lineup?
Only on Sports Grid. Diamond Bets.
Fernando Tatis Jr. getting popped for a PED suspension for 80 games. Now, I know performance-enhancing drugs are something that, even here at the network, they encourage us, especially myself. They say, please, can you enhance your performance just a little bit more, Joe? This year, it's not going to happen next year for a good chunk of the season. And guess what? It's more important now that you added Juan Soto. So obviously this news rocked Major League Baseball.
Only on Sports Grid.
Seattle Seahawks are in a legit quarterback battle. We're able to really tell for week 1 of the preseason when Geno Smith played a full half and then Drew Lock played a full half. You are only doing that if you're saying equal amount of time, why don't you take this job? And Drew Lock was more impressive than Geno Smith in that first preseason game. We had heard throughout camp that there were times where it looked like Drew Lock was the better quarterback, impressing a little bit more. And the Seahawks were not going to be scared to give him the chance to take this job from Geno Smith. Drew Lock was listed as the starter for their Week 2 Thursday preseason game against the Chicago Bears. Unfortunately for Drew Lock, though, a positive COVID test is going to cost him that opportunity. Certainly going to be the practices up until that game. Not sure how many practices after that he will miss as well. But this coming at potentially the worst time for Drew Lock, considering that week 3 of the preseason, who knows how many guys the Seahawks are going to be willing to play a week out actually from the NFL year beginning. A tough blow as Drew Lock, Donnie, looked like he might be moving to being the favorite to start week 1 for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, it is a shame there because when you're taking overall and you're seeing what actually is taking place is the simple fact is Drew Lock is trying to be the starter. This is the dress rehearsal, Kevin, coming in for this week. So if you're trying to line up how this guy's going to win the job, you got to be with the ones, right? offensive, defensive, everything has to be on the same page. But for Drew Lock to miss 5 days, which is what it's probably going to be, including that preseason game number 2, that looks like it might be a disaster.
The interesting spot right now with this battle here is if COVID is going to cost, if it's going to cost Drew Lock the chance to start week 1, they say, listen, you were there, but we got to give it to Geno now. Is Drew Lock in a spot where he now has to wait on Geno Smith falling apart? Is that where we are in this race? How quickly can Drew Lock take this job back? Because I've long held the belief that Drew Lock should be the starter for this football team. Younger, higher potential ceiling, maybe he pops. And if Drew Lock is able to splash this year for you, at worst, you have a trade asset. If he's really bad, then you're bad. No problem. No harm, no foul. Draft a new quarterback. And Geno Smith can be there to pick up the pieces. If you want Geno Smith to be your career-long backup quarterback, just sits there and mentors people, no problem. That's fine. And you can make that work if you're the Seattle Seahawks ultimately. But I don't see a world in where starting Geno for 8 games, having to then transfer to Drew Lock, is really going to be worth it for this football team right now. Either way, whether it's Lock or Geno Smith, I do not think you're looking at a world of movement, though, when we talk about win total, make the playoffs, anything like that for the Seattle Seahawks. Where I think this quarterback battle might impact your decisions in the futures market a little bit more, it might be a DK Metcalf season-long number. It might be a Tyler Lockett season-long number, in which case, too, I think I would rather have Drew Lock. Again, I think that ceiling is a little bit higher. Though I will say, DK Metcalf hauled in a gang of touchdowns in the games that he did play with Geno Smith. So perhaps if you go to the over-under for season-long touchdown market, that could make a little more sense. Let me bring Daniel Jones of the New York Giants into the conversation here as well. Because whether it's Geno or Drew Lock, we understand that this is a quarterback battle, right? One of these guys is going to win the job, and whoever wins it will then be on the hot seat each and every week. It is very likely that we get multiple starts for Geno Smith and multiple starts for Geno Smith and then multiple starts for Drew Lock. But what about the New York Giants? Tyrod Taylor getting some reps with the first team in New York. Brian Daboll has assured, though, fans and reporters and potential Giants backers that Daniel Jones is this team's starter. Don't read too much into this. We're just getting Tyrod some reps. But why? Why are you giving Tyrod starter reps if you're not thinking about a world where Tyrod Taylor is your starter? Now, not week 1 and not week 2, but clearly Brian Daboll, and we've seen, the Daniel Jones reports, it does not look like Daboll is going to be able to come in from the clouds and save Daniel Jones miraculously. If you're giving Tyrod Taylor these reps, I believe it's because at some point you're going to have to bench Daniel Jones. And you want to then give Tyrod Taylor the best potential chance he can have at succeeding in that role. Here's how the Giants' schedule begins. At Tennessee, home versus Carolina, home versus the Cowboys, home versus the Chicago Bears, and then they find themselves overseas playing in London against the Green Bay Packers. You have very short lines, potential favorite spots there for the Giants in weeks 2 and 4 against the Panthers and the Bears. But you're a dog at Tennessee, certainly home against Dallas, and certainly on a neutral site against the Green Bay Packers. You're going to come back, by the way, no bye week off of London, home again against the Baltimore Ravens. Within those first 6 games, if this is a 2-4 football team, they'll only be favored in 2 of those games. We'll see where lines close against Carolina. They'll only be favored in 2 of those games. Could that be the exit point then for Daniel Jones? And if that is the exit point, Donnie, then all of his season-long numbers start to shape up towards an under. Over under passing touchdowns, 21.5. Over under passing yards, 34.50 and a hook. Rushing yards for the season, 350.5. If Daniel Jones is benched, you should be able to clean up on his unders.
And I do believe you will at this point, Kevin, because if you're looking at season-long prognostication on Daniel Jones, it's a look-see. This is Brian Daboll's free year here for Daniel Jones. If he performs well, can he be a franchise guy? Maybe he can. But if we're looking at a short leash here, all right, let's give him the first 5 to 6 games. And I'm not anticipating big things here, Kevin, from the New York Giants with a lot of expectations. So if this is a look-see for Daniel Jones, I doubt it's one of those where you throw the entire season away just to see if Daniel Jones can rebound in weeks 12 through 18 to end the season. If I'm looking at that 21.5 touchdown passes, 3,450 yards passing, if you start 17 weeks, you should breeze right by that as an NFL starting quarterback. But I don't think he's going to be the starter the entire season. And quite frankly, if you open up, let's just say 0-2 to start the season, you might be looking at Tyrod Taylor by week 3 just to keep the installation process moving forward on Brian Daboll's team. I see a short leash for Daniel Jones. I really do.
That's even shorter than I can envision. Now, the interesting thing with Daniel Jones, and again, those season-long numbers, Donnie, is an ability to hit unders if he plays the full 16 games. He has not thrown for over 34.50 yet in his career. He has gone over 21.5 touchdowns just once. He has gone over 350. The anticipation is with the skill pieces and Brian Daboll in town, that wouldn't happen. But you'd think that this team could go 0-2, lose home against the Carolina Panthers, and jump that quickly off the ship here?
I do. I really do, because we don't have a big backlog to go off of from Daniel Jones. Let's remember, it's a new regime there. They didn't pick this guy, Kevin. Who's to say that Brian Daboll even wants him to say, you know what, I'll take a look here based on what we have, because this is a free year. Whether or not we play well, I'm going to get my foundation built here in New York, and then we'll take off with a new quarterback down the line if need be. But if he doesn't get what he sees, in the NFL, you know as well as I do, you open up 0-2, those chances of actually making a playoff berth are minimal. 5% or less at that point here. I do think there's a quick hook, because also, let's remember, are the Giants going to be losing games, Kevin, 31-30 with Daniel Jones, 25 of 32 for 350 and 4 scores? No, they're going to lose football games because, man, this guy fumbled the football again in the pocket. He doesn't take care of the ball. That's what the disaster outcome will be. If they start off slow because Daniel Jones starts off slow, which I think he might, I think that hook's coming pretty quickly.
It's interesting because just use the in the same town example, right? I think Zach Wilson can go out there, stink up the joint for 17 weeks, and they'd be right to keep him in. Because it's all about Zach Wilson this year, and you give him that time. The way the Giants talk about Daniel Jones, who's only played 3 years, to be honest with you, right? Now, look, a 4th year is plenty, but to pull it after 2 games, I think would be a bridge too far. But after 6, that feels about right. But also, right, realistically, if they give him 10 games, Donnie, that's plenty of leash, right? That's plenty of rope to see how well he's able to do out there. And you should still then be able to line up on these under tickets. If you are someone that's looking to get involved with Saquon Barkley, I'm asking for a friend because I know somebody that wants to get involved with Saquon Barkley, future markets, and things of the nature there. Do you want Daniel Jones benched for Tyrod Taylor?
I don't think it matters. I actually don't think it matters.
I think it might help a little bit to have Tyrod because I think Tyrod's just the better quarterback. So you just would take the chance for offensive elevation there. But by the way, and we're almost there, season-long projections and everything from us, Saquon Barkley right now, season-long rushing yards is 900.5. Man, if you listen to the New York Giants and what they are anticipating there, if he stays healthy, well over the total. We're talking rookies in training camp next. If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know.
The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Maurice Allen, 2015-2016 European Long Drive Tour champion, 2017 world number 1. Me personally, I keep my game face on me all the time. Especially coming out of the bunker, leaving the range, or even leaving the course. What's your story?
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The reality is that what I'm hearing is Flacco's going to play that game against the Ravens in week 1. And I'm just going to put, salt on this. Flacco's better than Zach Wilson anyway. I mean, he's better flat out anyway. All things being equal, he's head and shoulders better than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson sucks. And until
The Sports Grid Network. The morning after.
Well, the Niners have a better overall year than those two other teams, being the Jags and the Jets.
You know, what's funny is I think you'd get a lot of people, though you make a good point about where the number would sit. I think you'd get a lot of people to bet the Niners. I'm high on the Niners. I still would take the combination. I'm low on the Jets. I know I'm probably walking into a real bad trap here, and I'm going to live with it. I am very optimistic about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Can Cease become the favorite in this market by the result of this baseball game?
I don't think so, because we have to remind ourselves, this isn't, Dylan Cease pitching to Justin Verlander, and that's the head-to-head matchup, and who wins it gets the title belts, right? I mean, that's not the way it works here. You actually are taking a look at this game saying, how is Verlander going to do up against that Chicago White Sox lineup? How is Cease going to do against that Astros lineup?
Only on Sports Grid. Diamond Bets.
Fernando Tatis Jr. getting popped for a PED suspension for 80 games. Now, I know performance-enhancing drugs are something that, even here at the network, they encourage us, especially myself. They say, please, can you enhance your performance just a little bit more, Joe? This year, it's not going to happen next year for a good chunk of the season. And guess what? This is more important now that you added Juan Soto. So obviously this news rocked Major League Baseball.
Only on Sports Grid.
Sticking with NFL news here, and keeping it with the rookies. Now, this first story might not jump off of the page as a rookie headline, but it is. Green Bay Packers superstar quarterback Aaron Rodgers the other day, speaking to reporters, pretty frustrated with the receiver core, the young wide receiver core that is, I guess, being led by Romeo Doubs. Nevertheless, his quote went something like this. The young guys, especially young receivers, we've got to be way more consistent. A lot of drops, a lot of bad route decisions, running the wrong route. We've got to be better in that area. A nice little reminder, DRS, that this wide receiver core, at best, is wildly unproven for a team that is a minus money favorite to win a division.
It's incredible. But how did we get here, Kevin? And it seems like their star quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, he was okay with this. Because I don't know, Kevin, if I'm a top-flight wide receiver and a top-flight quarterback, it'd be pretty cool if we could play together and maybe connect. Top 20 guy, top 10 guy, no. How about a top 2 guy, top 1 guy in Devontae Adams, where I snapped the football, I played enough where I could just look over to the left. We make eye contact, and he knows that's a 7-yard slant. Or if I look and just give a little flash, like a wink of an eye, that means a 5-yard out. And now I'm doing that to these kids today, and they're going, what does it mean? What does it mean? How did I hike? Oh, no, I'm sacked right now. It's almost as if the quarterback didn't fight hard enough to say, boy, it would be nice to have legitimate wide receivers out here, but you played that card of, I got my money here. We'll work this out. And now all of a sudden it's not working out, where you went from Devontae Adams to Romeo Dubs, who's making plays every day in camp. I can't wait for the season to start, not because I want to see how it actually plays out, Kevin, but I need all the close-ups on Aaron Rodgers throughout the game, because you know that surly look on his face, the non-smiling, the doing all the hand gestures and gyrations, like you should go up and you should have took that ball out there. I can't wait to see it play out, because all we could say is, Aaron, we told you so. Why were you the last one in the room to see that, hey, we traded Devontae Adams away? Do you remember when it first went down? And all we said was, oh, my goodness. Aaron Rodgers probably is within minutes of calling a press conference saying, you know what? I want out right now. Don't care. I just signed a contract. I was lied to. I want out right now. And he was all cool, calm, and collected. Hey, man, Devontae went to Vegas, man. We'll be fine here. I can't wait for the season to start.
The Packers, for me, are a fascinating group to follow, because you look at their odds right now to win their division, right? And how many people are willingly laying minus 155 on Rodgers to win the North? Probably more than you would think, considering the dominance that they've had over this division. Since LaFleur showed up, he's won 13 games all 3 years that he has been in Green Bay. And the problem is, nobody believes in the Chicago Bears, 12-1 to win the division. And not enough. There are some people that love the Detroit Lions, don't get me wrong, but not enough people are going to love the Lions at a plus 950. I think the issue with wanting to fade Green Bay, something that I feel a little bit, is you basically then have to back Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. That is where you are. And Kevin O'Connell is in now, in for Zimmer, which I know Zimmer was good for a while, but that's going to be an upgrade for this football team. Are the Vikings talented enough to take the mantle away from Green Bay? Here's where this all breaks down, though, for me right now. I understand you're getting plus 240 on the Minnesota Vikings if you're looking to bet over the course of a season, which is a nice payout. But honestly, if you like the Vikings to win this division, aren't you just betting them plus 2, week number 1, at home against these Green Bay Packers? How do you really intend on getting over the hump with them losing that football game? And if you say, listen, they can lose that game and I'll still be interested, then just go bet them after that game. They'll be better than 4-1 ultimately to win the division. That's kind of where I'm at right now, DRS, when it comes to this NFC North. I'm still back and forth on the Vikings versus the Packers, because the Packers news just doesn't excite me. I just don't think you go from a one-man band in the receiving corps, but that one man is an unbelievable superstar. You lose him, you don't replace him, and everything stays fine. But I think if I want to back the Vikings, I think instead of tying the money up in the NFC North odds, I'm just betting Minnesota week 1 at home.
Yeah, it makes some sense. It really does. Because if you're looking at the two teams, at the tail of the two teams, as we like to say, how many times over the past, decade, you could say to yourself, you know what? The Minnesota Vikings offense is markedly better than the Green Bay Packers. What, are you kidding me? Jordy Nelson out here. You have Devontae Adams. You have, replacements. You have one of the best quarterbacks of all time, the most talented quarterback maybe of all time in Aaron Rodgers. Legitimate offensive line, run game, it all works well. It's not even close. It's not close anymore. Of course, you have an upgrade from Aaron Rodgers to Kirk Cousins. But go back and take a look at those statistics last year for Kirk Cousins, and you tell me if he's that bad quarterback that we all say. He's not. He puts up statistics. Now, also, Jefferson at wide receiver, top 5 wide receiver right off the bat. Adam Thielen on the other side, which I do love that Adam Thielen is in the best shape of his career coming into the season, as if we've never heard that before. Dalvin Cook at running back. I would take their office 7 days a week and twice on Sunday over the Green Bay Packers, even with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. This is going to be a fight to the finish, because this isn't the Packers of old here. Is this going to be one of those teams, Kevin, that's going to be 13, 14 plays down the field, matriculate the ball downfield, hand it off to your running backs, grind the clock out? It seems like that's really the pathway to victory here for the Packers, as opposed to dropping back 45 times with Aaron Rodgers. It will be interesting, but the old adage goes, when push comes to shove, these two teams are going to be neck and neck probably the entire season. When the pressure is on, are you trusting Aaron Rodgers or are you trusting Kirk Cousins? That's what it comes down to.
Moving on to a quarterback battle in Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett taking some reps with the first team. How about that? The Pittsburgh Steelers. And maybe they're just giving Kenny Pickett a chance. But his reps with the first team in the 2-minute drill, the first time that had happened. Pickett was impressive. We have 2 preseason games to go. The Mac Jones decision was made very, very late to give him the chance to be the starter over Cam Newton. So don't tell me that this decision would have already had to have been made, because it would not have had to have been made by now in order to give this job to Kenny Pickett. Week 2 of the preseason, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do we see Kenny Pickett a little bit earlier in that football game, Donnie, as the Steelers maybe realize that the best quarterback in the room with the highest ceiling is the kid they drafted in the first round?
This is the sign of a good football team, Kevin. Why? Because they're doing things the correct way. You start Kenny Pickett a little bit lower, tell him to ease into the situation. You want to see him in his first preseason game. It looks like he had a great performance to me, even though it was with the backups. But keep in mind, he was playing with backups, which means that it might make it even a little bit more impressive at that time. So if you're the Steelers front office, GM, head coach, and Mike Tomlin, say, you know what? He's ready for more on his plate. Let's give him more reps in practice to see if he can handle this. I still don't think he's going to be the week 1 starter, but I do think he plays a little bit more in the preseason as they continue to load his plate to see what he can handle. He passed the first test with flying colors in that preseason game, just being able to line up under center, be effective, move the football, and show you belong. You're a first-round draft pick. You're supposed to belong, but we've seen it in the past, like, hey, man, this guy's just not picking up the offense. He's just not ready yet. Kenny Pickett looks like he's ready for more. I just don't think he's ready to be the starter just yet in Pittsburgh.
Again, just so people understand, Kenny Pickett is not a spring chicken here. Like, we're ready to run Daniel Jones out of the league.
19, 20?
There's a 1-year gap. There is a 1-year gap between Daniel Jones and Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is older right now than Trevor Lawrence. A couple of months separate him from Tua. Isn't Tua's job on the line this year? Yeah, he is 3 months younger than Tua Tagovailoa. So the clock is ticking a lot more than people would think there. But why don't we all just go ahead and waste 7 games on Trubisky and then another 6 on Mason Rudolph?
Exactly.
An awful decision if anybody were actually to make that there. How about Antonio Gibson? Talked about him in our 7-7 headlines here. This is Donnie's boy from last year. Looking for a season-long rushing total over. Not going to have that option this year because the FanDuel Sportsbook maybe had it listed at a point in time. Cannot post that number anymore because the number might be, I don't know, 250 and a half. Third string reps. That is no way to treat a potential starting running back there. Special team snaps. It really looks like Antonio Gibson has fallen out of favor here in Washington.
I love this because, first of all, running backs don't want, contrary to popular belief, Kevin, they don't want to fumble the football. But I always find it interesting where the kid's played football his entire life, was probably a running back since he was 5 years old, and obviously didn't have massive fumbling issues. But he drops the ball on the carpet week 1 of the preseason, and next thing you know, old school, right? Old school coaches, Ron Rivera, hey, we'll show him. We'll demote him to third team, and we'll put him on special teams to see how he responds. Just man up. Hey, you know you can't fumble. I'm going to put you back in there, but if you keep fumbling, you can't play for us. Not the whole, yes, you are our feature back last year. You fumble the ball in a preseason game. You're third string now behind Reggie Bonifon, Jared Patterson, Brian Robinson Jr., and J.D. McKissick. That's not like you're saying you got Zeke Elliott out here, Walter Payton, and a combination of LaDainian Tomlinson he's got to beat out. Look at the guys he's got to beat out. He's supposed to be the ingrained starter coming into the season, but because he fumbled, he's got to do special teams now to earn his stripes back. Come on, Ron Rivera. I mean, this doesn't have to be 1965 football all over again. He's your most talented running back. Why don't you say, hey, I believe in you. Get back out there, not run with the third stringers and also go out there and play special teams. Ridiculous.
Is he their most talented running back? After the fumble, a 14-play, 75-yard touchdown drive capped off by Brian Robinson getting a carry on the 1-yard line. Ron Rivera's not here for fumble issues. And Donnie, it's the running back position. These things change all the time. A rookie drafted in the 3rd round, which again for a running back is nothing to hand wave. By the way, Antonio Gibson was a 3rd-round pick himself. Brian Robinson right now sits here at 60-1 to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. If Antonio Gibson is going to make way for Brian Robinson, well, that's just value. There's no other way to put it. You run through this board here, DRS, about where some of these young guys are. And we'll talk about some others that are further up this board. Donnie, George Pickens went out there, caught a touchdown in a preseason game, and he's now 10-1. Romeo Dubes' name keeps coming up, and this guy's now 16-1. Look, all I'm telling you is if Brian Robinson scores again this week, he might be picked to win ultimately Offensive Rookie of the Year. Cash-out options are always there. By the way, he was 60-1 only last night. You see, he's 60-1 there. Somebody got word that we were going to talk about it this morning. Brian Robinson Jr. is now 40-1, Donnie, to an Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I appreciate it. I love this market, and it's so much fun to watch because week 2 of the preseason, we would like to think it's probably the dress rehearsal game. And you're right. Like if Olave goes out there and catches a touchdown pass, he's the best wide receiver we've ever seen in preseason. George Pickens, right? Haven't heard much about the guy. He had a big week in preseason and also had a couple good practices. He's now next in line to be Santonio Holmes, Plaxico Burress, Hines Ward, and Antonio Brown wrapped up all into one. I love the hype in the preseason. Somebody, you're right, is going to come from that 20-1 right now and be the favorite at the end of next week because he had a good week 2 in the preseason, and I'm all here for it.
I might even have the name for you. He's already, though, up in this under 10-1, give or take, range. Things moving. Always on the FanDuel Sportsbook. We'll close out hour number 1 with that next.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
People are going to the betting window
Betting
and
above
betting
the
them now
rim.
before the trade takes place.
How dare
Diamond
they
bets.
do what's fiscally responsible? See how it plays out. Buffalo's going all in right
Football
now. They
full
need to put
circle.
all their chips in the middle of the table. It's do or die for them.
And Godwin being out, they've had a little bit of a shakeup.
In-game live all access.
You could take the points, you could take the money line, and
We have to go to San Jose, too. Maybe a small play on San Jose. I'm going to go both underdogs here. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Wow. In-game
Phillies
live.
here,
Prime
over minus
time.
128. You do have to lay a little bit of wood here, Donnie, but I think against Patrick Corbin.
But boy, you want to give me 8.5 points with a desperate team facing
Get
elimination.
the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
And if we just take a look at the rushing numbers, right, 1,100 yards is the benchmark for us. Well, last year as a rookie, Kevin, we just talked about Dalvin Cook. He can never stay healthy. How about a rookie playing all 17 weeks last year with Big Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers? How about him getting 307 rushing attempts as a rookie? I thought we were led to believe also the Pittsburgh Steelers where, yeah, we're about winning games, but we don't just hand things over to guys that get drafted and are drafted
Only
high.
on Sports Grid. Fantasy Sports Today.
Ezekiel Elliott declines even more and loses, let's say, 15% of the touchdowns and of the yards. He's being drafted way too high in fantasy this year.
I mean, the people, I guess Ezekiel Elliott's supporters will point out, well, before he suffered the injury last year, sprained, I want to say his MCL, but I'm not, don't remember specifically, but it was a knee injury. Before the injury, yes, he was good. But it was 4 games into the season.
The Sports Grid Network. Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
Tell me why you're so high on Herbert and the Chargers. They never get it done.
Number one is injuries. This team seems to be snake bit. If that goes their way this year, the only thing that's going to prevent them is coaching. The coaching and the offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi, he has a strong-armed, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert, who is young and can throw the ball all over the field. And they have one of the shortest target depths of any team in the NFL.
The Sports Grid Network.
one more rookie tidbit for you and how it might just be impacting the offensive rookie of the year market. One of the fun things about this class is kind of the ability to have people list the top 10 names there and how many people would have to honestly put their hand up and be, I don't know who that is, man. I don't know who that is. Well, you better get familiar because, again, somebody's going to win this thing. And if Kenny Pickett is not going to start for the Steelers, then there's a lot of options out here. And one of them might just be Damian Priest. Again, I know who? Houston Texans running back. Rookie, drafted for this team out of Florida. And the reports out of camp is that he has a legitimate chance early in this season to be the bell cow for this team. And to that I say, why not? What are we doing? Holding back for Rex Burkhead reps. That doesn't make any sense. If you're the Texans, don't you want to be able to show that you got something right here? I mean, we've done the Marlon Mack thing, it feels like, plenty of times. I know Pierce was a first or fourth rounder all in all, but you can find running backs in that range. Dameon Pierce, by the way, you would think, man, what did they throw me, 50-1? I don't know. Only 16-1 right now. Firmly in the mix. If the opportunity matches the reports, DRS, a legitimate lead running back in Houston. I know it's a bad team, but stats are what's going to matter here, not wins, and he might be able to put them up.
Yeah, why not? And you're right. The Marlon Mack thing, if this was 3 years ago, Marlon Mack wasn't injured, he wouldn't be on the Houston Texans to begin with anyway. So there's no, hey, well, let's give Marlon Mack a run to see what he's about. You don't do that on bad football teams where you're looking to set the foundation for the future. It's why Davis Mills will be in there. Also, Brandon Cook, still, relatively young. They gave him some money. But if you're looking at that running back position, you're right. Who else are you handing the football off to? Give it to the young kids. See if they can run with it, because in a season that it might be lost overall with your record, you can find some gems here. Why not? 16-1. Cash it.
At some point, we are going to make an offensive rookie of the year pick. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. We're talking NBA to start hour number 2 next.